Okay, it's the week before spring break, and so here's a quick video update for week 8. Essentially, some things to note for the next two papers, for paper 3 and paper 4, we'll be switching to APA style. So make sure that you view the presentation on APA style and understand that it's a little bit different. The presentation is a little bit older. You might see a few things here and there where things are a little bit different, but I don't think it will be too big of a deal. So long as you're within APA style, you'll be perfectly fine. Remember, APA style is usually for the sciences. And so just kind of keep in mind that if you're going to pursue a BS in geology, nursing, psychiatry, education, those sorts of things are listed as sciences. And APA is the American Psychological Association. So they tend to focus on research, they focus on dates and newness of material, and those sorts of things as well. We're also going to be starting a new unit, so this time we're going to be talking about medicine and ethics, and there's a whole bunch of different things. So before, with journalism education, one of the challenges you had was trying to land on a topic because it was very narrow. With these two that are coming up, one is medicine, the other is government and ethics, you will find that the challenge is going to be narrowing down your topics from a huge selection. And so, for example, let's say for medical ethics, you wanted to do euthanasia. That's a pretty huge topic. So you would want to really work to focus that down a little bit and maybe focus on a particular state or particular country, or for instance, in some countries there's been legislation that's been put forth that would allow young children who are suffering from terminal illnesses, their parents to sign off on euthanasia, and so on. So you really need to think about how you'll narrow down your topic to be a suitable paper. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you progress. Also, you will note on the discussion board, I'm going to start opening up the entire unit. So about 3 weeks worth of work will be available for you all at once, and they will click off as they normally would. And so we will have week 8 will be done essentially this Saturday, and then spring break, and then week 9 will be done that Saturday, week 10 the Saturday after that, but they'll all be available. So essentially you'll have a few extra weeks to work on 9 and 10, and at least 9, and so on as well. So for those of you that are doing pretty well and want to work ahead, this is a good opportunity to do so, especially over spring break. So that's pretty much it. Make sure as you progress that you're viewing the presentations. The next paper is a research paper. And so that one has very specific demands, just the facts, straightforward stats, kind of like an exemplification paper. You're not really telling somebody what to do. You're rather providing information that tells them that it's an issue, right? So in the last paper cycle, I did have some people who seemed not to have read the assignment or viewed any of the presentations, and then were utterly confused and wrote about the incorrect things. So if you put in not so much effort into the class and not set aside time to view the assignments, then you're not going to do well in the class. It's all there for you. It would be the same sort of situation if I had a class, like an actual brick and mortar class, and you didn't show up to it, and I gave the lecture on how to write that particular paper that day, and then you missed that class and you didn't know what to do, and you submitted something that you thought you should have done, then you're going to get the same results. So I'm always sort of perpetually confused about why people skip like 5 or 10 minute presentations and then try to wing it on the fly. So they've all been available there from the very first week, very first day of the class for that matter. And so make sure you're keeping up with those presentations. So before you progress too much further, you should definitely view the presentation for research papers. You should read the essays on medicine and medical ethics. They will sort of help guide you in terms of how you should approach the paper. And then also make sure that you view the APA style presentation. Some of you are still struggling a little bit with MLA style. So make sure you take advantage of the resources that are there. If you only want to engage in half the class, then you're not going to really do well. So make sure that you keep working. On the last paper, I had a huge divide. So you know, in a lot of classes, we have the typical bell curve where we have mostly C's, and then it comes down. And it's a few A's and a few F's. We actually had, for our last paper, this sort of bell curve where we had like that. So we had maybe like one C and then like a whole bunch of B's and A's over here, and then a whole bunch of F's over here, which tells me that if you put forward the effort, you're going to end up over here, And if you're not putting forth the effort really, or keeping up with the class, you're going to end up over here. And that tells me a lot of what I need to know. So just make sure that if you're struggling a little bit, rededicate yourself to the class. Set aside those few minutes to watch those presentations and understand them. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, but don't expect that my answers on email will take the place of a 10 or 15 minute presentation. So always view the videos, always work to understand those, read the essays, participate in the discussion boards repeatedly, and so on. You're only halfway through the semester, so you still have another half to go. So now's a good time to change up habits if you're having trouble. If you're doing well, just kind of keep doing what you're doing, and that's a majority of the class. So I did have several people that scored in the 90s and above on our paper for paper number 2. Obviously, keep doing that, okay? Keep doing all of the stuff that you're doing to get to where you're at right now, okay? Otherwise, that's the update. Again, the discussion boards will be up, but they will be all up on the unit, so the next 2 or 3 weeks, and they will click off around this at the same time they normally would at the end of that particular Saturday for that week. And then also APA style presentation, research presentation, and remember that your paper is always going to be focused on the unit that we just covered, and so this time is going to be based on medicine and science. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, have a good week and have a good spring break. We won't be doing anything over spring break unless you elect to, but otherwise we will get back together after spring break.